All right, hello
Hey
everybody.
guys!
Glad to be able to come today and talk a little bit about that third stage of grief that Shannon and Josh and Elizabeth and Austin have talked about the first two, and so we're going to talk about integrated grief today. We're apparently the experts on that since we're the longest out in this little group, right? We're experts here.
Oh yeah, totally experts. I
Total
guess experts, if you've gone through it, then you know how it is. So, just wanted to just touch kind of our journey with acute and complicated. I would just say ditto to what Shannon and Elizabeth and Austin and Josh have said about those intense feelings and those feelings that you can't go on, and that there comes a point as time goes on that you do move through those processes of grief, and you come to this point that we're going to talk about called integrated grief. And the definition is basically that it's a lasting form of grief that becomes integrated into your life. It is part of you now, it always will be, but it's not as painful as acute grief. I guess acute grief is this pain that happens so like just every second of every day, and it seems like you can hardly keep your head above water. Yes, the pain is still there. It still hurts a lot when it does hit you in integrated grief, but it's as if you have moved out of, I guess, the quicksand of acute grief and complicated grief and come out of that into this place where you can actually feel joy and feel real joy and feel real happiness again, even though the grief is still there right beside you.
You still had the injury.
Yes, you still have the injury, and I guess a good example of that.
You still had the injury.
Yes, yeah. So a good example of that is I broke my collarbone and my shoulder, and it was fixed. I did physical therapy, and it was painful and all of that, and it is fixed, but it's a different normal. There's the bone, I guess. What did you call it?
It didn't reduce,
Yeah,
so
it didn't
she still has a
reduce.
little lump there and
Mm-hmm.
bump, and she's
And I'm a little. It's
little
like,
disfigured by it.
my shoulder comes in a little bit, and so anyways, I can function normally and all of that, but just little things that
It's still
are
a part
different.
of your part of
it's
your
a part
life.
of me, and I notice maybe my shirt will just it'll fall down on that side more than this side, so I'm a little lopsided. Anyways, so
but it's your new normal.
yeah, it's my new normal, and I'm still able to do everything that I need to do everything that I could do before. It's just a little different. But this last week I've been trying to organize our office, and I came across a box of Lilly's things, and as I looked in it, everything and memories just came rushing back to me. An outfit that I'd kept that I just really loved on her. And then I got to the bottom, and there it was, her little ballet slippers, her first ballet slippers. And I just started to just these rush of memories. It's just like this, if you think of a movie, like just all these clips of pictures that just came into my mind of her dancing, and it hurt a lot. But then there was Grace right beside me, and she reached for the shoe, and she said, "Shoo, shoo," and she wanted to put it on. And she was kind of pointing her foot, flexing it back and forth, and it reminded me of Lilly and how she was at that age, and there was that dichotomy of feelings. Here I was, feeling so sad and hurting, but there beside me was this little ball of joy, my little Grace, I was crying, and I kind of just laid there and hugged her. She just looked at me and smiled and kept saying, shoo, shoo. And so there it was, joy, pure joy, sitting beside this pain of grief. And it is quite a crazy feeling, but it is very, very real that you can feel this such sadness besides such amazing joy. And it is our new normal. We'll always have that grief. We'll always have those memories and those things, but we can still, as we've come to find, have joy in our children here, in the world that we live in, all of those things.
Well, and one of the things that I think what happens with integrated is you start to see the event in a perspective of the whole or the big picture. In just like with eyesight, you have farsightedness and nearsightedness, which can be problematic for your actual vision. In life, those two things also can cause problems. When you have a crisis happen, and in acute grief, you have a tendency to focus on both of those. You can't see your nearsightedness. You can't see the big picture. And then as you try and move beyond, sometimes when you get stuck in that complicated, it's because you look too far into the future and you can't imagine life beyond that crisis. You can't see so far into the distance, and so you're overwhelmed with despair, and you don't have that. And Stacy and I were not obviously experts, but it has been a little over 3 years, and time has allowed us to have that different perspective. So instead of, this is the year of, everybody talks about 20/20 vision, but integrated grief is a period where you do see more clearly. You see the event in a context of your whole life, and not the other way around, where that event doesn't then constitute and define your whole life. Yes, it can change, and it will change your life, just like Stacy said with an injury. I was actually thinking about, I had an ACL injury in 2008, and I took the children, I was thinking about it yesterday, I took the children skateboarding, and I used to skateboard a ton when I was a teenager, and I don't do a lot now, but I was at the skate park with them yesterday, and every time I would do a couple little moves, I would feel that old injury in my ACL, just a teeny, teeny, tiny reminder that I am not free of that injury, in terms of I had a damage there, and I am not 100% like I was before. So that reminded me, just like this integrated grief, we're always going to have reminders, whether it's going through a box and finding something, whether it's seeing somebody. Last weekend, we were in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, and we were having dinner with some friends, and Grace was not interested in being in the restaurant, sitting down and eating and having a nice time. She was interested in being all over the place, and I went outside with her and was just letting her run around and kind of discover and explore. And it wasn't just about Lily, but all of my children. I could then all of a sudden just got a glimpse, and it was a really beautiful experience for me, where I could see each of my children at that age again and remember for a moment what they were like in that discovery. And I thought of Lily, and my heart did hurt, like Stacy just described, and I was touched, but I also felt close to Lily because of the love I feel for Isabella, for Talmadge, for Benson, Nelson, and now Grace. What a beautiful thing. And I became so thankful that I have had this experience with each of those children. Yes, I wish that I had Lily with me now, but at the same time, that perspective that I have now versus 3 years ago is different, because I can see differently. It's still part of my life, but it doesn't consume me and define me in all that I do. it changes my life for the good, for sure. And I think that's part of because of the way that we've chose to do it. This last weekend, as many of you know, is General Conference for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And one of the speakers was speaking a little bit about hard things and was speaking about trials. And what he said, Elder Dieter F. Uchtdorf mentioned in that talk that one of the purposes that we're here is to be tested and to go through hard things and to be able to use the teachings in the gospel of Jesus Christ to give us new perspective, to give us that purpose and to help us find. And Stacy and I have seen for us, and this is different for everybody, but we've seen for us, and obviously Josh and Shannon and Austin and Elizabeth, and we are finding many other people as we talk, that service is one of those things that is consistently a healing balm. It allows us to tie back to the person that we are doing that service in honor of, and it allows us to feel close to them. This last month in September, the little service project that I did a little thing for, I probably got a little ambitious or a little rambunctious, but was it 2 nights ago? Friday night, Stacy and I went on a little date, and we went to the drive-thru and did our little thing, and somebody paid for the person behind us, and the person that was taking order, I could see he was in training, and I just told Stacy as I left, that's the power for me in that, is being able to give that individual that opportunity to be a messenger and the deliverer of that message. And again, it's a silly little thing, but it's something that helped me. As always, I thought about Lilly. I am so thankful that in her honor, I can be inspired to do something that's different than I normally would do in my life.
And I guess I just want to make clear that doesn't mean that you forget them or miss them any less or stop feeling sadness or thinking about them. It just is the fact that it's not so disabling and so preoccupying as acute grief is.
It doesn't disable you.
Yes. And so, as Josh has said, we've been able to use service as a way to as a healing balm, and I feel like as we do these services, we're able to remember them even more because we're doing it in their honor, in memory of them. And that, like me working on our foundation, the whole first year, wow, it's a blur. It's I feel like the whole year is basically acute grief, but unlike Shannon and other people, I didn't have anyone close to me or anyone that I knew that was going through the same thing of losing a child. And Shannon has asked me, she said, how did you get through that? And I look back and I think, and all I can think of is just, I didn't have people that have gone through the same thing, but I had people, so many people, my earthly angels that were just surrounding me with love and support. And these are the people that helped me with the whole Live Like Lilly the first year. I wanted to do something, and Josh and I did, and I had ideas, and so I said, let's have meetings, and they were there. They were there to support me, even though I had no idea what I was doing, no idea really, except that we wanted to see good, do good, and share good. But they were there, and that alone was my healing balm. And I know that without my Savior Jesus Christ, that I for sure would have been in the fetal position in the corner of my room that whole year. I know for sure.
I might have dragged her out of bed, actually, but
he was he sent my angels, my earthly angels, and my angel Lilly. We've had some really neat experiences and felt her very close. And I even told her, I said, I can't do this alone. You need to help me. And I did feel her, and I also know that through my Savior Jesus Christ, that I was buoyed up and I was strengthened beyond my own. And when I was in acute grief, I was really only able to say in my prayers, help. Like, I didn't know what else to say, and that's really sometimes the only word I could muster. And a lot of times people said, how are you so strong? But I never felt strong. But I guess when I look at people that are going through things, I think they're strong too, because the mere act of like taking one step in front of the other, that's strength when you're going through something so hard.
And whether it's individual strength or the help of heaven or other earthly people, I mean, we are biologically created to be resilient. We are not created to become injured and stop or quit. I really like the analogy of injuries, physical injuries, for these three stages. I mean, that's why I think these stages make sense with a lot of people. Acute is when you have that initial injury, that ACL tear, that broken collarbone, and it's totally disabling for those first few periods of time. I mean, physically it takes 6 weeks for collagen and tissue to get about 85% healed. So it's going to take at least some known biologic time for something to happen. You can't get around it. It just is what it is. And with acute grief, it's the same thing. But if I don't seek treatment for that injury, if I don't seek therapy for that injury, if I don't take precautions, or if I don't approach it in a healthy manner, that ACL or that collarbone or whatever it is can become disabling. It can become something, and that's what complicated grief is. Your initial injury can be complicated by an unhealthy approach to that acute crisis or that acute injury. So I like that clarification, because that's what happens when we don't seek appropriate treatment, and whatever that looks like for anybody may be different. I had one type of ACL surgery. There's multiple different techniques. Similar with crisis, with the loss of a loved one. We all might have a little different recipe prescribed to us, if you will, by our families, by professionals, by whoever it might be. But the point is, we have to acknowledge that we're deeply injured and we need a treatment so that we can allow that acute grief to then move into our new life, that integrated grief is just part of who we are. So that when Josh goes and does a layup, I do a 2-step jump rather than the 1-step jump that I used to, because I acknowledge that I'm different. I can't go, we saw a couple, a mother and a son at dinner the other night. I can't look at them the same way now, having lost a child. He ended up being, this boy was 13 years old, it turned out, which was interesting. But I can't look at those people the same way as I did prior to losing my child. That's part of integrated grief. I'm not the same, and I don't need to be the same. And it's one of the things I think is really exciting for us, and we're going to talk about some really exciting things next week, about how we're making some changes and creating an organization that we think that we can gather more people, and we invite you to listen next week with us as we share that vision, our vision of how we can move forward in a positive way, not only for ourselves, but we want to embrace you, we want to invite you and all those that you might know in this same message, so that we can see good, do good, and share good as a way of always focusing on service, letting that love that we have for people, and particularly our lost ones, letting that love for our lost ones, or that love that hurts in our heart and makes them miss people, letting that love have an action in the form of service. That service is the action word of love for those that we've lost. So we invite you to join us next week, same time, as we share some of that vision with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And please, as always, reach out and let us know if there's anything more or things that you would like us to visit about. This month of October is also going to be exciting. We're going to be talking about some types of loss, specifically with children, speaking about infertility
And miscarriage, and
maybe
infant death, and
infant
stillborn,
death.
and because October is actually all of those things: awareness, miscarriage, infertility awareness month. So we're gonna have some guest speakers that are amazing women, and so excited for that.
Their spouses may or may not be included. I don't know how that's going to look, but if so, we'll let them join too, right? So.
Okay, thank you.